Looking more broadly at this year's election, there are 17 constitutional amendments on the ballot this year. Several focus on tax relief for homeowners and for businesses. Also, voters can decide whether to spend $3 billion in tax dollars on dementia prevention and research. But one of the most important amendments, with significant long-term consequences, would create a $20 billion water infrastructure fund. That seems fairly important if you combine our state's growth with our dwindling water availability. For more on the many choices on the ballot, Scott Braddock from the Quorum Report joins us now. Thanks so much for being with us again, Scott.
Good to see you, Laura.
So, Scott, a mixed bag of amendments for sure. But let's first talk about that water infrastructure. Can you break down this amendment? Who's backing it? And why?
Well, what the amendment would do is it's a huge plan, $20 billion over the next 20 years to fund water projects, which are desperately needed. As you said, we have an exploding population. Not only do we have about 1,000 people moving to Texas every day from other places, but we also have these data centers that are chugging water like it's going out of style, and all of that. We need water. And as they say, in the Old West, is the water is what you fight over. Whiskey is what you drink.
Yep.
And so, look, this is something that couldn't be more important. There are some arguments about the specific funding mechanism, and this is running into opposition from conservative groups all across the state, some county Republican parties, as well as some influential conservative newsletters and talk show hosts coming out against this and saying that it's a slush fund, that it's funding the Austin swamp, and a bunch of that kind of talk. And we've seen polling on this that shows that if Texans know what this does, up to 75% of Texans agree with it, Texas voters. But the problem is a lot of those voters don't know exactly what it does because there's no campaign telling them about it. So this could come down to the wire. No predictions, but I can tell you that some of the people with a vested interest in it expect it to be a close result.
But interestingly, though, wasn't this approved by a very conservative legislature?
Absolutely. Republicans joined with Democrats on this, of course, and for all these amendments, 2/3 of both the House and Senate had to vote for that thing. That'd be mostly Republicans, but some Democrats had to join in as well. And so all of these amendments that we're talking about had broad bipartisan support. That's how they get on the ballot in the first place.
And earlier in our show, we talked about the proposed tax increase, but there are several tax amendments, mainly property tax reductions for some. Why was that a priority for the legislature?
This has been a long-running priority of Republican leadership to try to buy down and create, a lower property tax burden for Texans all across the state. The issue with it is, and it's complicated on purpose, because that's what leads to so much finger pointing. The mayor of Austin will point at the state; they'll point back at him. But bottom line is, people are paying more in property taxes, right? And so it's never the case that the vast majority of Texans, even people in Travis County, want to pay more in property taxes. What's happening on the ballot now with this, the main thing is an amendment that I would expect to easily pass that would increase the homestead exemption, where it is right now at $100,000 up to $140,000. People aren't going to vote against that. At the same time, you might have local governments move to have their taxes increased at the local level. And so the reason that we talk about it in terms of relief versus a cut is if you say this will be a tax cut, people expect that to happen. Then they would be mad at whoever didn't make the cut happen, right, if it had been promised. The reason that Republicans use the word relief instead is because very often they'll try to make the argument to voters that your taxes would have been even higher if we hadn't done this thing at the state capitol. It all becomes very amorphous and has become a big finger-pointing game.
And there is one amendment that seems a bit redundant this time. It seems to make illegal something that is already illegal, and that is requiring only U.S. citizens to be allowed to vote. What's the impetus for this?
Mostly conservative grandstanding and placating the base that supports President Trump. Even some Democrats, of course, voted for this because no office holder is going to argue that undocumented people should be voting. So this is a layup. It's something that's easily going to pass, but it's all politics. And I will tell you that a lot of the amendments that make their way to the ballot now to change the Texas Constitution in various ways really do amount to just political games.
Indeed. Well, there's a lot to wrap our minds around here with 17 amendments, a lot for voters to consider. And I know this is a low turnout election, so we'll stay tuned for the results. Scott with the Quorum Report, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave us a comment below to let us know your thoughts on this video. And don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Austin Insight for free in the PBS app.